This is the Brandon Smith Show, and I'm your host, Brandon Smith. And the entire purpose of this show is one singular thing, and that is to help you live a life that much more free from dysfunction. So today's show is really, as every show is always about that, but today's show is really about planning for that for next year. Planning goals for next year. So since we're right here at New Year's and we're entering into a new year, what perfect time to set goals. So our topic of goal setting is going to be tackled as part of our leadership therapy segment today by myself and my wonderful, amazing producer, Whitney. Whitney, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
I was counting. We've got 2.5 hours until the new year.
Right, we're like right there.
Boom. So this is a good show for you if you don't have goals yet, like me.
No, you're going to have goals by the end of the show.
Oh, I have goals already. I told you they're here.
I have goals. I know I have goals for you.
No, I don't want your goals.
Oh, I've got plenty of goals for Whitney.
Don't want your goals.
So we're going to jump into this topic. Now, before we jump into it, I want to talk a little about how people screw this up, because I think that's a really important thing.
That's very encouraging.
So what people do is, for an analogy, I want you to think of this as, for some of you, this may be a painful analogy. For some of you, this may be an okay analogy. It's kind of like going back to school. Okay, so you're going into a semester of classes. And what most people do is they set a goal, they pick one class, and they say, I'm going to do better at that class. I'm going to do better at the health class. I'm going to do better at the professional class. Okay, and that's fine. So they end up maybe working on that, and they get an A in that class, and they're failing in a lot of other classes. So you really want, when you're thinking about goal setting and goals for the year, it's just, because I'm going to say something that's almost talking out both sides of my mouth. On the one hand, you want to be very focused and simplified in what your goals are. On the other hand, you also need to think of it as a general report card. So you're looking for your grade point average at the end of the year, not how well you did in one area. So I had someone that I had spoken to several years ago, and she talked about all these other goals that she had set, and it was all great, and moved so much further in her life, and things were fantastic, and how she focused on all these different aspects of her life. And I said, okay, so something came up about she had thanked her husband in something that she had done. And I said, okay, well, how are things? And she said, oh, well, we got divorced. So it's kind of like that aspect of her life maybe wasn't a focus area, but other focus areas were. So that was an area that maybe got overlooked. So we're going to talk today about all the areas you need to be considering when you're setting goals, kind of looking across all the classes you're taking, so we can kind of manage your GPA. And then we'll talk about, kind of where you might want to focus. And so your job listening is to really be thinking about, okay, of my classes, quote unquote, I'm taking next year, what are the areas I want to focus the most? All right. So I've got some thoughts, Whitney, on where we can start. But do you have a particular one that, since we've been talking about goal setting and you said you've got some in your mind, is there an area you want to go first?
Yeah, but I was going to say I'm an A student because my goal in my mind, it's a goal that's going to affect all these other areas. So I know this one goal that I want to do this year is going to help.
I'm not sure I'm following you.
It's going to help all. Okay, are you ready? It is not makeup.
Isaac threw out there as a makeup. Isaac, can we hear you on the show today?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Unfortunately.
Is it makeup? Is it makeup? Right out of the gate.
Well, what he meant to say is that I would buy less makeup. But no, that is not my goal. Okay, you ready? I'll share it with you. I'm proud of my goal. It's a lifestyle change.
Okay.
My goal is
Workout.
to... No.
Oh. For those of you who are just listening to the show for one of the first times, if you don't know, Isaac and Whitney are married. So we may never hear from Isaac again after the show. Just so everyone's aware.
I don't know. Somehow he always manages to see the next one. My goal is to get up earlier every day.
Earlier.
In the day, in the morning.
Okay, so let's talk about goal setting. That's a crappy goal. And why that's...
Okay, get up at 5 a.m.
There it is. Thank you.
I want to get up at 5 a.m.
Get up earlier. And if you're currently getting up at 10 a.m. and you get up at 9:55, that would qualify as earlier.
I want to get up at 5 a.m.
But that's not a
every
good
morning.
goal. 5 a.m. Okay. Excellent. So one of our prior guests we've had on the show, Randy Hain, would be very proud of you.
He gets up at 4:30.
Gets up at 4:30 every morning.
He still has me beat.
And then he works and he writes, and then he goes and he meets people for coffee early on. Now he ends his day by about 3 or 3:30 in the afternoon. But that works really well for him. And he avoids a lot of traffic by doing that. So 5 o'clock, I like that.
because it helps every other area. I'll get more done. I'm naturally more productive in the morning anyway, so I'll get more done. It opens me for more time to work out if I want to, or do whatever in the afternoon that I would like to do. And it's kind of eat the frog mentality. Like if I
know what you're talking about, but listeners may not. So please go into a little bit about that.
So eat the frog is like taking that thing that you don't want to do and doing it first so that you get it out of the way and you're not just dreading it all day. You just do it first. Whenever your getting up time is, you pick that thing and you do it first and then it's done.
And what is that for you? What's the frog?
Oh, I don't know that I can say that.
You have it? You just don't want to say
it?
Okay.
Yeah. Now I think, well, I can. There is a part in all of our jobs as much as so if you were in a job that you love, which I am, I love my job, but that doesn't necessarily mean I love every single task that I have to do.
Are you helping me manage my social media? Is it?
That was
is that her frog?
All.
That's her frog.
I'm trying to be very positive on this episode and you're derailing it. Where's your New Year's spirit, Brandon?
I don't know.
But all of us have that thing. We all have that thing that we don't like that isn't our favorite thing. Do it first.
So you're going to do that first. Okay. So if I start getting emails from you at 5:15 in the morning, I'll know I'm the frog. That's how I'll know, folks. Anyone getting emails from Whitney before 6 a.m., you're the frog. You're the frog.
It's not true.
Okay, I'm going to build on what you just said.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about our first class, quote unquote, our category, and that's health. Because when you wake up is part of that natural health rhythm. Mm-hmm. And if you've been listening to the shows this year, this is a nice kind of culmination. We're sprinkling some of our guests into this conversation. We've already talked about Randy. One of the other guests we had was Dr. Arifa Kassaboy, who works for WebMD. And so Arifa talked about what doctors and physicians are looking for now in our health. The first question they're now asking, how much sleep are you getting a night?
Oh, maybe that should be my goal. Get in the bed at 9 so that I can
Which
get up
is where
at
I'm
5.
going with this, because you're getting up at 5. You can't go to sleep at the same time and then expect
True
to have
that.
all this extra energy. I mean, that's not going to work.
True that.
So, and they're saying that you really need to be targeting 7 hours of sleep a night.
Not doing that.
And research I talked about this on the earlier show. The research does not, this month, research does not back up and justify this idea that if you kind of backlog all your sleep to, you have it all at the end of the week, that it works. It doesn't. You have to have it throughout. So if you change, so health is things like sleep. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Make sure you're getting enough exercise. So gyms are loving to see you this week. There are lots of people going to be signing up for gym memberships. I think P90X can be showing up at a lot of people's doorsteps this week. There's also diet. So we've been thinking about your diet and how you want to adjust your diet. I think all those kind of fall in the category of general health, and there's a lot more. So that might be the class that you want to look at this year. All right.
So Brandon,
Isaac,
one of the things that first couple of points is being detailed about your goals. Is that what?
Yes, and specific is really important. So, for example, Whitney's first goal of I want to get up earlier was a horrible goal. Crappy goal. I shut that down quickly. Not a good goal. But when she said 5 a.m., now there's a goal. Now that's measurable. Got it. That's a good goal. So,
you know what's interesting?
A+ for the 5 a.m.
Thank you. You know what's interesting though? And maybe you're going to talk about this. I kind of think we should expound upon the difference between a goal and more of a lifestyle change.
Yeah, I think we use the term goal loosely.
Yeah.
So goal can be everything that's very tactical day to day. So if I'm going to wake up every day at 5 a.m. Goal could also be I'm going to write a book this year. Those are both goals. One is more of the outcome of a lot of things that you did to get there. And the other is the things that you're doing.
Yeah.
Most experts in this space would argue that what matters more is focusing on the things you're going to be doing, those habits, because they'll get you the outcome. Mm-hmm. If I say, I want to go to Italy this year, but I don't do anything to plan or put it on my calendar, it's not going to happen. So it's all the little things you have to do to kind of get there. At the same time, it's also important to say, I want to go to Italy because it gives me something to reach for. So we've got more vision goals that you can have for this year, and then also more of the kind of tactical day-to-day. So a good distinction. I think that's important. If I had to wait for everyone in this room or listening, I would say let's probably wait towards the tactical because you can build up a little more momentum. Yeah. Okay, so I've got another category for us. So we talked about health, kind of that health and wellness.
Yes.
That's one of our quote-unquote classes for the year. Let's talk about professional, because I think that's another kind of class. And naturally, anyone listening to this show knows I'm going to talk about career and workplace. So that could be a goal. So you can have some goals you've got for yourself this year. So that could be everything from, well, it can really fall in one of two categories. One is I want to stay in my current job, ... The other one is I want to go look for something else, ... And there's probably a third, which is I want to do something on the side, ... So in the first one, if you want to stay in your current job, your goals could be anything from what you want to get achieved this year. So it could be a promotion, or it could be a raise, or it could be to change a title, to even other things that you want to make sure you're working on. I want to improve my relationship with my boss, or I want to get an opportunity to work on this kind of project or that kind of project. So thinking about those goals early on is really important. And then I would also say, if you're going to stay in your current job, really important that you take that and then message it to the folks that can help you. Getting that right buy-in is really important. Keeping those goals in your head is not going to help you. You've got to make sure you've got people to support you in that. I think that's important.
So one of the things you said, Brandon, it's about, like, let's say you want to improve in your career, and I know we're getting close to the break, but you said, let's say I want to have a raise, but really in order to have a raise, you need to have a good relationship with your boss, and also you need to have your expectations met or go above and beyond. So really the goal should be, I want to go above and beyond the expectations, which that will fall like a domino effect.
Yeah, Isaac, you're hitting on something really important. So here's something I would say very tactically. Let's say you're in that first category. You want to stay in your current job, and you got the sense of what you want to work on. Really early out of the gate in 2018, get on your boss's calendar, grab 30 minutes, grab coffee, and say, hey, I've been thinking a lot. These are some things I want to achieve this year. I know you probably have already covered this in your performance review, goals for the year. That's a common conversation, but it's okay to revisit it over the holidays. And then flip it to her or him and say, what goals do you have for you this year? Because to Isaac's point, it's important you meet their expectations too. Your goals and their goals should line up. So make sure you're having that conversation. It's almost like a negotiation. Here's what I want to get done. What do you want to get done? Let's find a way to help each other get there. I think that's really, really, really important. So we're getting close to the break. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take us into the break maybe just a couple seconds early, because when we come back, what I want to do is I want to then pivot and talk about, all right, so if you want to leave, how do you do that? What does that look like for you? And I'll even share some of my own professional goals that I've got for next year. So you all can hold me accountable to that. So stay tuned. We're going to go right into break, and we'll be right back. Hey, this is Brandon Smith. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. It is the season of family and hopefully not family dysfunction. And it's also that time of year that if you're anything like me, you're planning for the next year. You're thinking about, how can I set next year up to be really, really awesome? Well, I want to help you with that. If you haven't downloaded one of my workbooks on workplace happiness, I'm going to offer a special gift to all my listeners that if you download one of those books, use the promotional code NEWYEAR, all one word, New Year, either uppercase or lowercase, and you can receive over 50% off any of my 3 workbooks. So whether you're looking for the right job, you could download that workbook, or the right culture, or the right boss. All of them, the promo code will work. So consider that my gift to you as you get ready for the new year, and let's make this next year, 2018, a great one. This is the Brandon Smith Show. Welcome back from break. And today we have been talking about goals. So we've already spent some time talking about health goals and thinking about how do we manage our health goals and sleep and exercise and everything that kind of falls in that bucket, that class. And the next one we moved to was professional goals. We talked about kind of professional goals. And we talked about if you're in your current job, what are some of your goals? And how can you make sure you're aligning that with your boss? I hinted that I've got a couple professional goals for myself this year. One, I have been working on a book. I've been working on book projects, folks, for like 6 years. I'm almost embarrassed to say it because every about 6 months, I lose momentum or I get distracted and I end up switching to another one. So I hired a book coach. So I am telling you all right now to hold me accountable. I'm going to get a book done this year. Other than my workbooks, which we'll talk about in a minute, I've got a book that I'm working on. So that's one of my big goals. And I've got always the goal to make this podcast better. And so in a little bit, I say a little bit, and in about a month or two, be looking for some kind of a survey link where we're going to ask you your opinions and feedback, because anything we can be doing to serve you better and help you better are definitely on our radar. So those are two new goals I have, other than everything else, kind of keeping things running.
I will not be part of that survey.
You will not be part of that survey? What do you mean? Well,
Do you like the co-host?
Yeah. You're looking for new talent?
98% no, 1 vote yes. That was me.
Do you like Isaac? Yes.
Everyone likes Whitney and Isaac. I give Whitney such a hard time, but she is awesome on the show.
Oh, thanks. I can enter the new year with happiness
It's probably,
in my heart.
probably the only time I'll say it is once a year.
Yep.
On the New Year's show.
I enjoyed it.
Tell her it was great.
Okay,
rest
so
of the time.
wait. I know you were going to talk about your workbooks, your ebooks, and then you were going to talk about pivoting. So like we talked about, okay, I want to stay in my current job and this is what I want to do and move up the ladder, whatever case. So what if we want a new job, different job?
And so you all have been following my workplace happiness formula and following me talking about this before. Workplace happiness is a really simple formula: right job, right culture, and right boss. And as you all know, I put together workbooks to help you on those three things: right job, right culture, right boss. And those are available. And if you haven't been following this, we're going to probably keep this promotion running for about another month or so and then cut it off February 1st. But you can get 50% off any of those workbooks by just typing in New Year for the coupon code. New Year, all one word, either lowercase or all caps. But regardless, the idea behind it is the same. So even if you say, gosh, Brandon, I really don't need the workbooks, that's totally okay. The idea is still the same. You need to be thinking about what's the right job for you that fits your skills, your talents, your interests. Because it could be that you're in the wrong job, or maybe the culture's not fitting right. You're in a culture that you just don't have the same values as everybody else, or it's your boss is the issue. Knowing which one of those can help you know what to do. So I had an alum several years ago call me and say, gosh, I want to leave my job. Turns out it was really their boss that was the issue, but they love their job and they love the company culture. It was a big company. So they worked out an opportunity to get moved into another division, and they're super happy. Knowing which one of those things is bothering you can help you know if you need to make a move or not. But if you do decide you need to make a move, now's a great time to start that process. And start by networking. Start by networking and talking to people who are at companies or in jobs that you would want. That's a great starting place. Now, I want to keep us going on our other goals. And so the last thing I'd add to this is, I offered either wanting to stay in your current job or leave. A third option is maybe you want to start something on the side. I'm a big fan of kind of starting up kind of extra hour, kind of gig kind of activities. What are some things you can start up on the side that you can do? So it can maybe be you want to start an Etsy shop, or you want to pick up a new hobby or skill. So think about how you might be able to work that in, or go back to school for something in the evenings. So that can also be a goal. So I would put all those in the professional bucket. So far we've talked about the health bucket, and we've talked about the professional bucket. Two important buckets, but we've got more.
I have a comment, and I think this ties back in with a lot of the shows that you start up talk about purpose. And I think one of the that you mention a lot is when you want to know your purpose is, you have different kinds of purpose, right? Like seasonal purposes. And the question is, what is the difference between purpose and goals? Like I have it's a 3-part question, but the first one is purpose and goals. Purpose versus goals.
Yeah, so purpose should never change. And I've had several people ask me, hey, can you do another show on purpose? So that's going to be coming. We'll definitely be taking that on in the next couple months to help you further down that path. Because if you got a great purpose, your purpose is your North Star. It's your compass. It never changes. It's always sitting up there kind of guiding you. So for example, my purpose, which I'm very clear on, is to eliminate all workplace dysfunction everywhere forever. That's never going to change. It's always going to be there. But I'm going to do that in different ways, like this year podcast or a blog or speaking engagements or coaching or writing or whatever it is. I'm always going to look for new ways to do that. So a goal is bringing it down. So they often talk about kind of 50,000 foot view is purpose. The goal is more like the 5,000 foot view. So now we're a little more, we can see out 6 months from now and say, I want to achieve this as I further down my path to my purpose. So a goal is more of a short-term thing that has either something measurable or is finite in terms of time. So by 6 months, I want to have done this or be able to hit this number, and an effort to achieve my purpose.
So then, now that in the beginning of the year, finding out your meaning, if you don't have a purpose or you really haven't thought about that, let's say Isaac really needs to think about his purpose, for his ultimate purpose, and then for this year, how can I get closer? Right? That would be helpful as well.
Stay tuned to future shows.
Ooh.
This is what I can tell you. That right there, Isaac, and I don't mean to be kind of glib, but honestly, that's like a whole show, because I really want to help people get that, because purpose is really about what's the need in the world that I want to try and meet. Where most people go wrong in this is they are looking for some big like neon sign that's going to shine when they're driving down the highway and see their purpose. Really, your purpose comes from your story and has a lot to do with what you've already experienced. So being able to reflect on your own story. So we'll do a really nice kind of deeper workplace therapy show on that question and see if we can help unlock that. But at least for now, you can start thinking about
Your goal setting.
what is a need in the world that I really want to try and meet. If I could wave a magic wand and meet that, that's going to start you towards your purpose. And purpose answers the why question. It's kind of why you do what you do. And the goals are all the kind of the means to that end. Yeah. All right. So we talked about professional stuff, talked about health stuff. Any other categories you think we should cover, Whitney? I've got some. You want to take any guesses, or should I just grab our next one?
Well, I was thinking maybe you were going to go home life.
Oh, home life's a good one. Yeah, home life's a good one. I would put that in the bucket of. So here's home life is a couple chapters in the class called relationships. So that's another category. So we got health, we got our kind of professional or our working life. Now we're going to talk about relationships. And I've kind of bucketed that because it can encounter, most of it's home life, but it can be even beyond that. It could be friends. It might even be move into the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big believer that as you go into the new year, you should be thinking about what are your relationship goals for the year. So maybe you've got certain relationships that you want to make sure you really nurture. You say, hey, it's really important to me that I spend time with my spouse or spend time with my kids. So what are you going to do to make that happen? And if you've heard, we've had some guests on the show. Like Tom Smith talked about having quick dinners every night with his family, making sure that you're sitting down and having meals together. Those are kind of tactical ways to achieve that. But there might be, in addition to relationships you want to nurture, there might be a relationship that you say, that hasn't really been nurtured this year. Either I haven't talked to that person hardly at all, or it's one that I really want to either mend a fence on or just build better. So target the ones too that you want to work on. So I would say relationships is probably a third category.
Love it.
Okay, so I've got a fourth one for us.
Okay.
I've got 5 total. Okay, so bear with me because we're getting close to the end. We've already covered 3. We've covered health, professional, and we've covered relationships. Now we're going to talk about play. No, we'll talk about play. Yeah, we'll talk about play.
Okay, that one sounds exciting.
Yeah, so we'll talk about play. So play.
That one sounds exciting.
I was gonna not go there, and then Whitney's like, "Oh no, I want to talk about play. We got to talk about fun.
You know
Let's
why?
Talk about play.
I'm so bad at it.
Play.
Well, because so when you say play, we're talking about vacations, right?
Yes.
Like making sure you work in breaks.
Vacations, hobbies, things that you love. They recharge your battery.
We need to work in more of the interval.
Yes.
Training, vacations.
Interval training
here.
for this is great for this. Making sure you're carving out time to do this. Once a quarter, take a long weekend. And for people who are self-employed, it's a lot easier to take off a Friday and a Monday, because
it is.
Yeah, most clients, quote unquote, don't know or don't notice, or you can email them while you're en route to a place.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm going to have to do some serious workplace therapy after the show, folks.
Stay tuned for video.
but very doable. And I used to do this with my family all the time. So, you all, if you've been listening or watching the show, you've heard Abby come on a couple times, and Abby talks about Disney is something we did. I used to do that with the kids all the time when I was starting up my business because I could not get away for a full week. I didn't take my first full week vacation where I was gone Monday through Friday ever in my career till maybe about 2 years ago. Before that, it was always smaller bites because I just couldn't afford to be away. But we would take long trips down to Disney. Living in Atlanta, Disney's only about 7.5 hours away. So we would go down there for a long weekend and come back. And that worked out really, really well. So it was, and the clients never knew. I could always kind of text them or send a quick email while I'm waiting in line at Space Mountain. So it worked out just fine. And we got those mini vacations.
You had to stay up off that Instagram.
Yeah. So that's something. So vacations. So in the play category are things like vacations, hobbies, things that are just fun. Things that allow you to just relax and rejuvenate and just kind of recharge your spirit in a fun way. We need to have enough of that. And admittedly, that's something on my kind of my course schedule for this year. I could work on that one. I don't do enough of that, and I could do more. So that's something that I definitely kind of got my eye on that class. The grade on that class has not been as good as I want it to be. I want to improve on that.
It's good.
So I've got one last one for us. Remember, I hinted there was 5. Our final one is spiritual goals. So what are your spiritual goals? What do you want to do over the next year to improve in your spirituality? And that is defined basically in whatever way that means to you. But that can be meditation, it can be yoga, it can be prayer, it could be going to more worship services, it could be just be finding ways to stretch that side of you and say, how do I improve the spiritual side of my life? So I feel like that side of me is also being fulfilled and grown. So if we look at all these as an overall course load for the year, you can see it's pretty well balanced. We've got professional stuff, we've got health stuff, we've got spiritual stuff, we've got relationship stuff, and we got play. And there might be even more courses we could add to that, but those are nice 5 buckets. So as you're thinking about those 5, what are some things that you could be doing? And how can you make them more regular? So if it's a spiritual one, and you attend church, maybe you want to go every Sunday. If it's a play one, you're going to set your vacations now and talk to your family and start putting those on the calendar. If it's a health one, you're going to get 7 hours of sleep every night. If it's a work one, you've got your work goals and you want to talk to your boss about that the first week of January. And then it's a relationship one. You say, yeah, these are all the things I'm going to do to kind of nurture my relationships at home, make sure I'm home every night at this time, and or I've got this other relationship I really want to work on. So those are kind of examples of how we might kind of balance that. So our end GPA at the end of 2018 is a 4.0. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. That's what, I like that. I think 4.0. So, Whitney, after hearing all that, any thoughts on your goals this year? Anything you want to add other than the 5 a.m.?
Already, because that affects everything for me. Gives me more time to nurture those relationships, to go work out, to read. I mean, it does everything.
Gives you all that extra time.
Boom.
Okay.
Mic drop.
I think one of the things for me is the relationships. Like, cause
oh, yes.
Sort of having that, setting up those goals for relationships, because you have family and then you have business and then you have spouse and then you have kids for people who have kids. So I think that's one of the toughest that I'm going to work on.
I love it. I love it. Whitney seemed to give you two thumbs up for that. I'm not sure what that meant, but she was, and she's even did that. Don't know what that means, but I'm assuming it's good.
I guess so.
So stay the course.
Please. Look for
so
me.
Here's what I'm going to suggest we do. At some point throughout this year, we'll either do quarterly or halfway through the year, we'll come back and we'll revisit this list just to hold ourselves accountable, but also hold everyone listening accountable, just mostly as a reminder. How you doing so far? This is kind of our checkpoint halfway through the year. See how your grades are on these courses. Any grading correction you need to make, so we can end at that 4.0. So thank you for listening and watching our show. Of course, continue to keep up the fight against dysfunction. Let's make 2018 a great year, and follow us every Sunday evening where we drop a new show at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Of course, you can catch us on Facebook.com/Brandon Smith, WPT for Workplace Therapist, and at Twitter at the WP Therapist, iTunes, thebrandonsmithshow.com. And of course, you can get any other past content and check us out in that way on theworkplacetherapist.com. So lots and lots of ways to follow us and stay connected. And I really, really hope you do. I'd love to hear from you all. And if there's topics you'd like to hear more of or different than what we've covered, please let me know. Please let Whitney know. Please let Isaac know. We'd love to continue to make adjustments to not only make this show better, but make this show, more importantly, better for you in 2018. So until we meet again, have a great week and an awesome life.